Picture a man sitting in a car outside a sunshine house. October 1999, Melbourne winter. The engine is running. He is waiting for something, though he does not know yet that what he is waiting for will define the next 11 years of his life and end them. A door opens. Jason Moran walks towards him. There is a gun. One shot. The man takes a bullet to the abdomen and survives. He drives himself to hospital. He is not a powerful figure. He is not feared. He owes the Moran family $80,000, a drug debt, and he cannot pay it. Most men in that moment make a calculation. They pay. They run. They disappear into the ordinary. Carl Williams makes a different calculation. He decides that the man who just shot him will die, and that his brother will die, and his father will die, and anyone standing near any of them when the time comes. Over the next 5 years, that calculation produces 4 confirmed murders. A conspiracy to kill a fifth. More than 36 deaths across Melbourne. And eventually, a cell in Barwon Prison. A broken piece of gym equipment. And the final victim of the war he started. His own name. Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to hit subscribe to support us. That is exactly what keeps us going and gives us the motivation to keep making the next one. Now, let's go back to where this man came from. There is a photograph of Carl Williams that does not appear in the true crime documentaries. Not the one from outside the Brunswick Club after Lewis Moran's funeral, not the one from the Gold Coast Airport in January 2004, tan, smiling, Benji Venyman beside him, Roberta and their 3-year-old daughter arriving days later. There is a photograph, or the idea of one, of a boy growing up in Melbourne's western suburbs. George Williams as a father, Barbara Williams as a mother who would one day stand on the steps of a courthouse and berate a judge for sentencing her son. A family that was not organised crime royalty. Not the Morans, whose name carried decades of underworld weight, just a Melbourne family. Ordinary in the way that ordinary can still contain everything that comes next. Carl Williams describes himself in court documents as a semi-professional gambler. He is manufacturing and distributing amphetamines through the late 1990s. He is not considered particularly significant. The Morans are the dominant force in Melbourne's criminal landscape. They have been for more than a decade. When Carl Williams owes them $80,000 and Jason Moran puts a bullet in him over it, the expectation is simple. The debt will be resolved, one way or another. What nobody sees coming, what the Morans cannot see, what the police cannot see, what Carl Williams himself perhaps cannot fully see in that car outside the Sunshine House, is what the bullet makes him decide to become. In 2002, through a mutual friend named Tony Mockbell, Carl Williams meets Andrew Venyman for the first time. Venyman is known as Benji. He is feared in ways that Carl Williams is not yet feared. Short fuse, reliable, a hitman whose kill count is growing and whose loyalty, for the right price, is available. Williams looks at Venyman and sees something most people miss. Not just a weapon, a tool for precision, for patience, for the kind of calculated removal that a war of revenge requires. He builds around Benji. He builds around money and drugs and the specific currency of belonging that organised crime offers to men who have found nowhere else to belong. He calls himself the Premier, not as a joke, as a statement of belief, because I run this fucking state. He smiles for cameras, he attends public events, he moves through Melbourne's criminal landscape with the specific confidence of a man who believes his enemies cannot see what is coming for them. And he is right. June 2003. A children's football clinic in Essendon. A Sunday morning, families on the sideline. Jason Moran and Pasquale Barbaro sit in a car watching the kids train. 2 men approach the vehicle. Jason Moran, the man who shot Carl Williams in the abdomen 4 years earlier over an $80,000 debt, is shot dead in front of the children he came to watch play football. October 2003. Michael Marshall is shot outside his luxury South Yarra home. His 5-year-old son is present. March 2004. Lewis Moran, patriarch of the family that dominated Melbourne's underworld for a decade, is shot dead inside the Brunswick Club. The Moran family, built over 20 years, is gone in less than 4. May 2004, Piranha Task Force. The task force, established specifically to investigate the Melbourne Gangland killings, closes in. Carl Williams is arrested. And what follows is not the dramatic final confrontation of a crime empire. It is something quieter and more devastating. His own men begin to talk. The soldiers whose loyalty he purchased with drugs and money and status begin calculating their own survival. One hitman, fighting a murder trial on legal aid while Williams is represented by a Queen's Counsel, makes his calculation. Others follow. One by one, the floor falls away beneath the man who called himself the Premier. He had forgotten something that every durable criminal organization understands. Loyalty purchased with money is only as durable as the money. When the money stops, or when the fear of what comes next outweighs the reward, purchased loyalty becomes testimony. On 28 February 2007, Carl Williams stands in the Victorian Supreme Court and pleads guilty. 3 murders, 1 conspiracy to murder, life imprisonment, non-parole period of 35 years. He will be 70 years old before ordinary parole. He is 36. Inside Barwon Prison, maximum security, Carl Williams makes one final calculation. He begins talking to police. His lawyer, Shane Tyrrell, later tells a court that Williams had been preparing to provide names, the names of people connected to the murders he was convicted of, people who had been part of what he built, people whose freedom depended on him staying silent. He wants 2 things in return: a reduction in his sentence and his daughter Dakota's school fees paid. He has a daughter named Dakota. That detail, sitting in the middle of a story about 4 murders and a gangland war, is the most human thing in this entire record. A man serving life for 3 killings, negotiating his daughter's education as part of a deal with police. He has become worried about his safety in prison. The information is leaking. People know he is talking. His former cellmate Matthew Charles Johnson later admits killing Williams, but claims it was self-defense. Kill or be killed. Williams's father George tells the jury that Johnson had asked to be included in the police deal. The implication is direct. Williams is not killed because of what he did. He is killed because of what he was about to say. On 19 April 2010, a broken stem from an exercise bicycle seat, Carl Williams, 39 years old, the final death of the Melbourne Gangland killings. The last man killed in the war he started, over $80,000. Here is the question this story forces. Was Carl Williams the mastermind of the Melbourne Gangland War, the calculating architect who dismantled a criminal dynasty and ran a city from the shadows? Or was he something more limited and more human, a man who was shot, who decided to fight back, who found the right tools, venom, mockbell, money, and used them, who won the war and lost the peace because he forgot that the loyalty he purchased was always going to be available to whoever offered more? The Victorian Supreme Court found him guilty of 3 murders and a conspiracy to murder. That is settled. He ordered deaths, he built the machine, he ran it. But the machine he built, unlike the Comanchero structure, unlike the headhunters architecture, unlike the organizations this series has documented that outlast their leaders, was built on Carl Williams personally. When Carl Williams went to prison, the machine stopped. When his allies began to talk, the machine reversed. No succession, no chapter structure, no commission scheme ensuring the organization continued without him. Just a man with money and a hitman and a plan for revenge that worked better than anyone expected. Until it didn't. Carl Anthony Williams. Born Melbourne, 13th October 1970. October 1999, shot in abdomen by Jason Moran over $80,000 drug debt. This triggers the Melbourne Gangland killings. 2002, alliance with hitman Andrew Venyamin through Tony Mockbell. June 2003, Jason Moran and Pasquale Barbaro shot dead at Children's Football Clinic, Essendon. October 2003, Michael Marshall shot dead outside South Yarra home in front of his 5-year-old son. December 2003, Graham Kinniber shot dead in Kew. Williams suspected of ordering this murder. March 2004, Lewis Moran shot dead in Brunswick Club. May 2004, arrested by Piranha Task Force. 28 February 2007, pleads guilty to murders of Lewis Moran, Jason Moran, Mark Malia. Guilty of conspiracy to murder Mario Condello. Life imprisonment, non-parole, 35 years. Inside Barwon Prison, begins cooperating with police. Preparing to name associates. Wanted sentence reduction and daughter's school fees paid. 19th April 2010. Bludgeoned to death by fellow prisoner Matthew Charles Johnson with broken stem of exercise bicycle seat. Johnson admits the killing. Convicted of murder, claims self-defense. Williams is 39 years old. Final victim of the Melbourne Gangland killings. There is a moment in every war where the person who started it realizes they cannot stop it. For Carl Williams, that moment probably came inside Barwon Prison, when the names he was preparing to give police became the reason someone decided he could not be allowed to keep talking. The war he started over $80,000. A debt, a bullet, a decision not to comply had by that point claimed more than 36 lives. His allies, his enemies, people who were simply nearby. His own mother Barbara died in 2008, suffering from depression, while her son was serving life in Barwon. He never came home from prison. The people he loved most, his daughter, his wife, his parents, absorbed the consequences of decisions he made in a car outside a sunshine house in October 1999. The first lesson this story teaches is about the first decision. Not the murders, not the alliance with Veneman, not the guilty plea. The first decision, the one made in the car with a bullet in his abdomen, to fight back instead of walking away. That decision felt, in that moment, like the only decision available, like the only response that made sense in the world he inhabited. But it was still a choice, and choices in that world carry a specific kind of weight, the kind that does not stay with the person who made them. It spreads outward, through families, through children watching football on a Sunday morning, through a daughter whose school fees become a bargaining chip in a prison conversation, until the weight is distributed across everyone who was ever close to the man who made it. The second lesson is about what the Premier actually ran. He ran himself. He ran a temporary coalition built on money and fear. When both ran out, so did everything else. For our community in Aotearoa, the connection is not about Melbourne gangland history. It is about what this story has in common with every story this series has told. A debt, a decision, a war that nobody fully understood until it was already too late to stop. What do you reckon? If Carl Williams had paid the $80,000, would any of it have happened? And what does your answer tell you about where these stories actually start?